Hi again, everybody. Bill Phillips here on a Monday, a beautiful Monday across the Ohio Valley, and we are ready for the 9-Minute Phill-Up. We have a special guest with us today. That is Jacob Hyman, and he is here to discuss an author, a nationally known author that is leading a revolution. We are going to talk about that and much more coming up. But first, want to thank Valley Converting right over my shoulder, as you know, from T-Town, the gem city of Toronto, Ohio. Mike Biasi and the crew. If you have paper products you need recycled, make sure you check out the crew in Toronto. It is Valley Converting, and they will take care of you. Jacob, welcome to the show. Welcome to the 9-Minute Phill-Up. And just before we get started, we've got strong towns, and it's probably a little bit too far away to really see it but Strong Towns, a bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity. Now, Chuck Marone is going to be coming into town on Thursday and holding a conversation at the Sycamore Center at 301 North 4th Street in Steubenville, Thursday, September 18th at 6:30 in the morning. So,
in the evening.
In the evening. I see. I get my dates. I can't remember what day of the week it is. I'm looking at it. Wednesday.
We really need strong people to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I don't know if I could do that.
This is all I'm going to say. That's the middle of my day. I'm ready to go. Let's have it in the morning. We could do coffee talk.
Yeah.
With Chuck, and then you finish it off with a little after dinner.
Yeah,
a refreshment. It's a lot of conversation, but I think he can handle it. He's leading a revolution.
For you, Bill, I'll do that. I'll make sure you can have 6:30 a.m. coffee.
Okay, there we go. All right. So, Jacob, tell me a little bit about, before we get into the Thursday and the times, and tell me about Strong Towns. Now you lead the Strong Towns Steubenville. Mm-hmm. Can I call it branch? Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, the formal word they use is local conversation.
Okay.
But chapter, basically.
Okay. All right. Chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about the basic philosophy of Strong Towns, and then how it applies, or how you've seen it applied here in Steubenville.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it is just give a bit of my background.
Okay.
So I am originally from South Florida, West Palm Beach. I went to school at Florida State studying civil engineering, and then commissioned into the Air Force.
Time out.
Oh,
we can't go on with this interview. You went to Florida State. We cannot go on with this interview. As a Miami Hurricane, I actually anything's better than a Florida Gator. Man. All right, go ahead.
Okay,
you know that.
I'm walking on pins and needles right
because
now.
you know the Gators. Everybody dislikes the Gators if you're not a Gator fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me included.
Yeah, anyway, so you're Florida State, but we'll get along. We'll get along for the segment.
The important part is I commissioned into the Air Force.
Okay.
And I got stationed at Wright-Patterson in Dayton, Ohio. So that's what got me up to Ohio.
I was going to ask you how you got to Ohio, but now we understand.
So Dayton. And
what did you do in the Air Force?
So I was a civil engineering officer.
Okay.
My service was unfortunately cut short due to medical reasons.
Oh, okay.
But it was a unique role. I was doing like research and development at the Air Force Institute of Technology. But that was my first time being in what I can affectionately call the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
And I compared it to my time in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the history of this place in literally in the streets and the buildings, whereas suburban Florida is quite new.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted as I was growing into a young adult, I wanted a place with community and history.
Yeah.
And so when I got out of the Air Force, or approaching it, I knew I think I'd stay in the Rust Belt, and I wanted to land somewhere that I could cultivate a home. And I had come to meet some of the people, the Harmonium Project in Steubenville, which has historically done the first Fridays. And I saw them engaging with the town, trying to do downtown revitalization, and that was really attractive to me. I learned about Strong Towns materials in my engineering studies. And so sort of that was in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I moved to Steubenville in 21. And I started volunteering with the Harmonium Project, doing the first Fridays. And I did that for about 2.5 years. And then I started to notice, just being here longer, started to learn more about the history of the place and learning how does local government work in the Valley. And Harmonium,
interesting.
Harmonium is really good at festivals, civic things. But I wanted to engage directly with kind of government. And I was looking for the right avenue to do that. I started attending Steubenville City Council in 23 and just taking notes. And then I kind of rediscovered strong towns in that they had a kind of local chapter program.
Okay.
And so in the summer of 2023, myself, along with a number of friends and volunteers, started Strong Towns Steubenville, which is a local chapter of Strong Towns. So that brings us to Strong Towns. The history of Strong Towns is the gentleman on the cover of this poster, Chuck Marone, is a civil engineer and urban planner. And back in the fateful years of 2008, he was designing infrastructure for cities, designing streets and roads, utility networks, water and sewer. And he himself, being interested in finances, started looking at municipal finances. And what he discovered was that the municipalities did not generate enough tax revenue to pay for not just the new infrastructure that he was designing for them, but their existing infrastructure and maintaining the water lines and filling the potholes.
Well, and that's one of those things where you bring that up, and that's one of the interesting things about a lot of the towns in the Ohio Valley. It's almost, I don't want to call it loan sharking, but it almost is loan sharking when you have the Ohio EPA saying this is what the water standards you have to follow. This is everything. Oh, it's going to cost $13 million to fix that. You don't have $13 million to fix it? We'll loan it to you.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's like, again, I'm not saying it's loan sharking, but it's you're the people telling me I have to fix this, or we're not going to be in compliance. And you're the people lending me the money.
Yeah.
So it's, it goes hand in hand, and I don't want to cast any aspersions on anyone, but it's one of those things that I always find very interesting. But at the same time, if that's the avenue they have right now, that's the avenue they have. But how is Strong Towns, and how is Chuck's idea to change things with the municipalities? How does that work to allow municipalities to do what they need to do to help themselves and not be beholden to the Ohio EPA and things like that?
Well, yeah, you're noticing the issue of municipal debt, that we have our municipalities, much like our nation, we just have so much debt. But unlike the nation, who has a mint, who can print money and such, Steubenville doesn't have a mint.
No,
we can't do that.
No.
And so the debts that we have a lot less flexibility with what we do with them. And so the question then is, how do we grow or redevelop in a fiscally sustainable way? And Chuck started to pull the thread on these observations he was noticing back in 2008. He started writing, and in 2011 he wrote enough that it formally become a 501c3. So Strong Towns has been around in some form or fashion now. I mean, almost just under 20 years at this point. And so what he noticed, though, is that the historic development of a lot of communities, your downtowns, which have seen a lot of demolition and destruction, that when you look at it from a dollars and cents perspective, that our historic communities actually fiscally outperform a lot of the newer suburban development. And so kind of the way that we look at that is with context of land acreage. Look at an acre of downtown, any downtown, doesn't have to be Steubenville, compared to an acre of, suburban or exurb strip mall type. Steubenville's unique because we have the regional income tax, which our city derives. Rita.
Can't stand Rita.
You
I
love
will
her.
say that all day long. Beat the drum
her.
on that one.
Which is something I want to ask Chuck about, because Rita, we're not the only community to have a regional income tax, but it's unique, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, and I get it. Yeah, it's a way to collect your taxes, a way to go about doing that. But at the same time, it's just Rita shows up, and you're just, oh man, Rita's back. But it's you know who's back though. Before we carry on, Jacob, it's T-Dog. T-Dog says hello, Bill and friend.
Hello.
This is Jacob Hyman, leader of the Strong Towns Steubenville chapter. We are talking about an event coming up on Thursday night, and it's called A Bottom-Up Revolution to Rebuild American Prosperity. Chuck Marone, author and the creator of Strong Towns, he is going to be stopping in Thursday the 18th, 6:30 in the evening at the Sycamore Center. You're wondering where the Sycamore Center is? 301 North 4th Street in Steubenville. Now, is there any charge to go to?
No, it's a free event.
All right, so you'll be able to ask questions. They're sitting there and they're thinking to myself, Wow, that's a good idea, Chuck. But what about this?
Yeah, the talk will be about an hour long.
Okay.
And then we're going to have 20 minutes at the end for Q&A.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so that's
great.
6:30 to 7:30 is talk, 7:30 to 7:50 is Q&A. And then also, Chuck is the name of the event is derived from the subtitle of his book.
Okay.
He published this back in 2021, I want to say. Since then, Chuck has authored 2 additional books, one on municipal transportation and on housing. But this is sort of the first principles book.
Okay.
So, but
well, before we carry on, we were going to take a brief time out. We're going to hear from Valley Converting. We'll be back with more on the bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity. A big talk coming up on Thursday at the Sycamore Center in the evening with Chuck Marone. We're here with Jacob Hyman from the Steubenville chapter of Strong Towns. So it'll be very interesting to continue on with this conversation, see what happens on Thursday. But right now, you know them, you love them. They're in T-Town. They're in the gem city of Toronto, Ohio.
Every piece of paper has a story. What if that story didn't end when you were done with it?
At Valley Converting, we turn your old paper products into recycled paperboard, continuing the story.
Locally owned and operated in Toronto, Ohio, bringing your paper to Valley Converting isn't just about recycling.
It's about supporting a cleaner, greener future for all of us.
We are here 5 days a week to help you make some green by going green.
And remember,
recycle for your future.
Mike Biasi and his crew in Toronto, Ohio. If you have paper products you need recycled, give that book. Maybe you've read the book 17 times. You're like, you know what? I can't read it again. I need to give it a new life. They will take that book, turn it into a new paper product.
there it is.
So a lot going on there. It looks like we have a couple comments. All right, T-Dog. Okay, I'm from Barnesville, Ohio. Come by and enjoy a beautiful town. It is, Barnesville coming up. You know Barnesville. It's the Pumpkin Festival coming up in a little bit, just down the road in the Ohio Valley. Beautiful town. I just drove it through it the other day. It was lovely. And SMC, good morning, Mr. Bill. Good morning, SMC. So some of our regulars checking in. Oh, MJ, I'm sorry. Didn't see you there. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. So everybody's saying good morning. And again, as we come back and you're wondering who's that sitting next to Bill? That's Jacob Hyman. He is the chapter leader of the Strong Towns Steubenville chapter. And we are talking about an event coming up on Thursday night. Chuck Marone, the author and basically the leader of the Strong Towns, a bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity, looking at basically the infrastructure that you have in your municipality, your town. How can you make that work better for you to maybe save that money, save your town the money, to make it more fiscally responsible? Maybe going from the bottom up rather than borrowing that money from other places. So that's the conversation that's going to happen Thursday night at 6:30 at the Sycamore Center in downtown Steubenville. We're talking about that now. Jacob, you broke down what the Strong Towns focus is and how you want, but how do you implement that from an idea in a book that Chuck put together to, okay, we're going through this process. How do you influence? How does the Steubenville chapter influence doing things like that, that you're going to be able to save that money and use that infrastructure to build the community, build that prosperity?
Yeah. Again, the Strong Towns analysis is that our historic downtowns are more fiscally solvent, even in their depressed state, than a lot of suburban growth. And part of that is, I grew up in the suburbs in South Florida, and so everything is less dense. And so you need more road, more water pipe, more sewer pipe to service all those people. And all of that falls on the municipality to maintain, versus a downtown when all the buildings are closer together, you have more of your front porches, things are closer to the street. The same 300 feet of water pipe that services 4 suburban homes, and I'm just making up numbers here, could service 6 or 7 downtown homes, right? And you have more people paying onto that system. So bills can go down, infrastructure can be maintained. How then do we take that analysis and then apply it into our communities? I think there's a few things that our local group has been trying to do. And the first has been just trying to help get our own community to think about the wealth and the resources that is our downtown. Because even though it has had such challenges, it's incredible to see the amount of uses that different buildings downtown have had.
Yep.
Something like the Leonardo's Coffee House, the amount of different types of businesses that had been in that buildings for decades and decades versus a Hollywood shopping plaza. Joann's just went out of business, and now Spirit Halloween is going in, right? When we build in the larger suburban pattern, we don't have a lot of resiliency with what can come in after the fact due to they're just so big.
Okay.
But so trying to help the discussion of we need growth in the community, but how we grow is just as important that we grow.
Will you, as the chapter leader, do you take that? Chuck's coming in, can have a conversation. How do you try and is it? I go to the city council meetings. We bring up discussions.
Yeah.
We have gatherings to talk about things. How do you make that work to get that revolution off the ground?
So the reason it's called a local conversation is because it involves community discussion. So one of the things that people might be most familiar with us is that for the past few months, we go to Steubenville City Council every Tuesday. Okay. And we see the WTOV9 reporter there, but we also take up our own notes. Okay. And we try to be hopefully not boring, but as thorough as possible with all the different particular discussions. Okay. Because we think if we want to see change, we need to understand what are the discussions that we're having now. From going to city council each week, this has afforded us opportunities to get to know our city councilors better, to get to know what are their focuses and their interests, then to be able to talk into that. And that's sort of the hope of this talk. Okay. We've invited all of the Steubenville City Council. We've heard back from the mayor of Weirton that he's going to be there. Okay. The mayor of Mingo Junction is going to be there. We've invited Wintersville leadership, Toronto leadership, all the counties around the area. And so we're hoping that this conversation in particular is going to be able to lay out these principles more chiefly of how do we engage the downtown revitalization that's happening as a city?
And it's one of those, pardon me, but it's one of those situations where just a few years ago when downtown Steubenville was without water, first thing I started to think about was if I am a leader of another community anywhere in the Ohio Valley and you see Steubenville's water issue, first thing I'm thinking is we need to check our water to make sure we're not going to have these issues, or if we do, we need to be out in front of it trying to do this. But now there are example after example of things getting kicked down the road. Just move it down. We'll get to it. But then what happens is comes back to bite you. Yeah. So the fact that you're going to have different town leaders come here and be a part of this conversation, that's exciting because just as a person that's lived here since 1991, you see that it's like, okay, let's get together and figure this out. So,
well, it's funny you mentioned the phrase loan sharking, because it sort of gets to an idea that Chuck lays out in the book, which, to a degree in Steubenville, we haven't really felt, in part because our economy has bottomed out with the mills leaving. But old infrastructure is old infrastructure, whether it's in downtown Steubenville or Columbus, Ohio. Yep. And so historically, and I think Columbus is a good example of this because it's had an economic engine, what larger communities can do is they will continually annex land on their borders. They'll say, we have all this debt that we have to pay off. Well, we are going to incentivize new suburban development on the outskirts. And the developers pay for the roads and the pipes that get put in, and then the city gets this boon of new tax revenues. So they take all that money that's new on the outskirts of the city and they apply it on the aging infrastructure inward. And that's fine for the first 30 years. Yeah. But then after that 30 years, that new infrastructure that's on the edge of the city now comes due for maintenance. Where do you get that money from?
There's only so much land.
You grow again and again. And so the term that Chuck has coined, not saying that it is this, but that it looks like this is the growth Ponzi scheme. That in order for us to maintain the infrastructure that we have, due to the way that we are building, we need to consistently grow. But that puts municipalities in deeper holes because the more they grow, the more infrastructure they have to maintain. So they're continually adding to their infrastructure liabilities.
And at some point, you're going to run out of land to annex. There's only so much of it.
Steubenville is blessed in a way due to Appalachia, right? Because unlike a flat Columbus, we can't so easily sprawl out. And so really, and that is one of the things that Chuck identifies, which we're trying to help have that discussion with our municipal leaders, that land is fundamentally the most precious resource that a city can steward because it is limited. You can capture more rainwater, you can build more pipes and streets, but you only have the land that you have.
Yep, that is it.
Yeah.
Well, on Thursday, just want to remind everybody, Thursday, September 18th, 6:30 in the evening, free, no cost. It's at the Sycamore Center, 301 North 4th Street in Steubenville, Ohio. Strong Towns, a bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity. Chuck Marone, Charles Chuck Marone. So we get all of them there. He's nationally bestseller, leader of this bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity. Again, we'll be in town 6:30 in the evening, Thursday. A question and answer period after about an hour of presentation. And we're here today finding out with Jacob Hyman more about the event, more about Strongstown, or Strong Towns, I should say. And the one thing I liked about your group was the fact that when the mayoral primary came up and other political races, you were out there. Okay, let's get the candidates on. Let's find out what they're thinking about. Let's have some open discussion. Let's have people ask some questions. Is that a part of the philosophy of Strong Towns?
It is something we say. We're nonpartisan, but that doesn't mean we're non-political. And a Strong Towns has been compared to a political Rorschach test.
Okay.
And that people will see what they want to see. Because when we talk about, wanting bikeability, walkability, being able to build, dense housing, somebody can say, well, that's a progressive talking point. But then when we talk about how we need our municipal budgets to balance and we need fiscal solvency, that can be seen as a conservative talking point. So
well, I don't know about you, but I get to the point where I have to pay my bills and have them all, but politics and different things that go on. Well, we're going to take a little more debt on, and we're going to do. I was watching the Dallas Cowboys show on Netflix going back to the 80s, how they had Super Bowl champion. I'm thinking, how in the world did Jerry Jones get that much money to borrow against literally a pipe dream that he's going to hit oil?
Yeah.
I got a $800,000 loan. If I show up and I'm in the hole, I've got debt, I want to borrow $800,000, the bank's going to go, thank you very much. There's the exit. Yeah. So that's one of those things where I don't know if that's conservative, liberal. What it's like, you got to pay your bills.
Yeah,
and that should go for any city, any town, any organization. Yeah, if I've got to do it, I hope everyone has to do it.
Yeah, and so we've since we've been on the scene in 2023, we held we collaborated with the Ohio Valley Business Professional Women's Group in late 23 to host a political forum at EGCC with the various city council candidates at that time. And most recently, earlier this year, we had in-depth forums with the Republican mayoral primary candidates. Yeah. And so it's something that I found personally rewarding and engaging, just to have a better sense of who are the people that are trying to lead our city. Yeah. And I know with Mr. Petrello, we were able to get that.
Whoa.
Ooh. We were able to get that.
Second. That's Addison Albert, everybody. Addison, we're doing the 9-minute Phill-Up. You know it goes a lot longer than 9 minutes. I got to call you back.
Incredible.
Hey, it's live podcasting. That's the thing. We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun, inform and have fun. And so Addison was a little surprised, but go ahead.
But no, we were able to live stream that on Facebook, and I think going forward, it's of an interest of ours. Strong Towns has its own kind of pillars, which you can see on the website: safe and productive streets, incremental development. Yep. Our local chapter, we chose 5 different kind of campaign points, if you would, which we try to say this is the action, or this is what we organize our action around. Yeah. You can see that on our website, strongtownsteubenville.com. One of those is transparent local government, of helping people better know who are their elected and appointed leaders or their department heads. Something that I've been toying around for a while, and we need to find another podcast video to do it, is interviewing more, like not just, oh, you're running for office, let's get to know you, but oh, hey, you've been our city councilor for a few years, or you've been the you're the street head, or the water the wastewater department head. I got sidetracked one city council evening talking to Mr. Chuck Murphy, who is the Steubenville wastewater superintendent. And I'm a civil engineer, so I was
Yeah.
actually to talk a bit more shop
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
But something wild that I learned: the current wastewater system we have now was built back in the 50s
Yep.
when the population was expected to grow. It's sized to handle wastewater loads for 80,000 people.
Yeah, we don't have 80,000.
The peak that we had was 38,000 in the 1940s. So it's interesting because it's so big and we have so few loads or smaller wastewater loading. They need to be creative in utilizing that system in different ways. And I think even though it was engineer speak, there's ways in which just better transparency and communication with our elected, appointed, and hired city officials is something that allows us to be the best city that we can be.
Absolutely.
So.
All right. So Thursday, again, Strong Towns, a bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity at 6:30. Chuck Barone, nationally known author and the leader of Strong Towns, will be at the Sycamore Center, 301 North 4th Street in Steubenville. No charge. Jacob, I can't thank you enough for being here today. I'm going to give you the floor for about 30 seconds because we got to wrap things up.
Okay.
We've got to get that midday show. I could sit and talk some more, but
sure.
So give us your sales pitch to get people to come down on Thursday to see Chuck.
I've been in Steubenville for the past 4.5 years, and I'm grateful to have now called this place my home. And something that I do have a benefit of, I think, just from having lived in different places, is seeing that the problems in Steubenville are uniquely ours, but that they're not unique. And I think we can sometimes get lost in the seeming particularness of our problems, that we forget to look around and see how other communities are learning or struggling themselves. Something that Chuck is going to be able to do is bring that to Steubenville without you having to leave. His own research and his experience speaking to hundreds of city leaders and cities all across the nation and the world. And so I'm grateful that he'll be coming. And I think he will be able to share with us the wealth of his wisdom and what he's learned from other communities that are trying to revitalize. All
right. Looking forward to it. An opportunity for you to hear about Strong Towns and a bottom-up revolution to rebuild American prosperity. Again, it's this Thursday, September 18th, 6:30 at the Sycamore Center in Steubenville. No cost. Bring your questions but then listen as the conversation's going on. You probably come up with some other questions, and you can talk and ask all you want. It's going to be a very interesting conversation as we look to push the city further, and other, as you mentioned, other mayors, other chambers or commerce, what am I trying to say, commissioners from the Jefferson County, from Harrison, may be in attendance as well. So a lot of people are going to go see what the Strong Towns revolution is all about. Jacob, again, can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you for bringing your information and letting us know about this conversation that they're going to have on Thursday. Everybody, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for being here and joining us for the 9-Minute Phill-Up. And of course, Valley Converting right above us here. Can't thank them enough for all that they do for being a part of the 9-Minute Phill-Up. And remember, there's always, Jacob, there's 2 rules. There's always 2 rules.
Okay.
And I think you did that this morning. I hope you had some fun.
I did.
And I know you did your best. Or I hope you did your best.
I think I did good.
There you go. The 2 rules are this: have fun and always try your best. Because if you're having fun and you're trying your best, who's going to get mad at you? You're doing the best you can. You're having fun. That's all that matters. So anyways, until next time, everybody, next time's tomorrow at about 10 o'clock. We'll get started with this. Can't thank you guys enough for being part of it. Jacob, thank you again. Have a great event on Thursday.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thank you. We will talk to you next time, everybody. See you next time.